Welcome back to All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Today's going to be exciting. Joe and I have been doing some talking about the podcast, what we wanted to do. We talked to some outside people as well that made some suggestions, and ultimately we decided to kind of change things up from what we were doing, which was a different guest, different topic every week. As you can imagine, it kind of gets hard to keep up with and everything. And so what we decided to do, and we kind of, hope it's well received. If not, we're always open to pivoting and switching it up as well. But we're going to be doing like a month-long topic, and I have a call coming in through Discord. Give me 1 second. Anyways, we're going to do a month-long topic with a guest at the end that is, well-versed in the topic. So this month, as y'all know, Joe and I are both big anime people. We're very excited about the shows that were just released. We do a monthly anime episode with Keaton and Eli and all of that. So this month we're going to be talking about anime with a guest at the end of the month to kind of bring it all together. With the anime, we're going to be talking about Demon Slayer and My Hero with a focus. We might bring in other ones kind of just to, talk about here and there, maybe something that they're doing that's like reference to this or something like this. Things, but what it does is it kind of gives some consistency to what we talk about. So if you're into anime, for this whole month you can jump in, you can talk about anime, you can talk about My Hero, you can talk about Demon, and it really is going to allow our viewers, our community, everything that kind of hangs out with us on a weekly basis or as part of our TikTok and YouTube and all of that. It's going to add some consistency to them and what they're able to see. Versus, what are they talking about this week and all that. So without that, Joe?
Yeah, it's super excited for the change to just be able to continue on a specific topic, because there's so many times where we're like, we wish we had more time to continue that topic. So it's kind of addressing that as well, where we can continue on, have multiple episodes about the same topic again, for us to be able to talk about it and for the listeners to be able to continue the conversations, jump back in the comments, that kind of stuff. And it's cool to see how our podcast has grown over the time that we've been doing it. This is episode 61. We do one a week, and I was looking back at some of the older episodes, and I noticed that my hair was like way shorter. I was like, wow, okay, your hair grows a lot in that time span. Nate, you look the same, as handsome as ever.
Appreciate that.
And we got a comment coming in from Brandon McCroy, lawyer, listener.
McCroy.
Reporting in. Thank you, good sir. And on that note, without further ado, Nate, let's talk nerdy.
Let's do it. So, as everyone knows, massive anime fans. I've been into it for like a year and a half. So when Joe kind of pitched this to me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen, right? So we're going to be talking about My Hero and Demon Slayer. So heads up, there will be spoilers if you are into Demon Slayer or My Hero, which Marchman, I don't know if you're watching. A lot of times you are. I know you have not gotten to them yet. There will be spoilers. Like, I'm going to just create a banner for the next month that says spoiler alert so nobody can be salty.
Yep.
So let's do a quick recap. Let's do a quick recap. I can't talk. My God. Let's start with My Hero, right? And let's kind of start from like season. We're not going to do like season 1 all the way through thoroughly, but let's kind of kick it off with some of what we really enjoy about My Hero from like season 1, how it's developed to where we are, and then we can jump into exactly what's happening right now and what we expect. And then if we have time, we'll go into Demon Slayer. If we have to push that to next week, we will. So on and so forth. So, Joe, let's kick it off, man. What is it from season 1 to now? What have you loved and enjoyed about My Hero?
Oh man, so I wasn't ready for that question. I was like, we're going to focus on this new season. I was getting prepared, but thinking back to previous seasons, dude, like, one, I'm a sucker for any kind of tournament. I think Keaton is as well. We have him like any kind of tournament, any kind of like test school type scenario. Like, I don't know, it's just it draws me in. So I remember like the tournament arc from the earlier seasons. I do like that it's just action packed with a lot of different characters and character development for the different characters. And I like how like there's so many different characters, it's hard to keep track, but when they throw people on the screen, they always take like a little break and be like, oh, this is who this is, and this is a quick overview of their powers, like that kind of thing. So I think they do that really well. But yeah, I mean, and just it's been action packed and with a good storyline like since the first season. And with all anime, there's always like a one season in there that's always like, well, that was kind of boring, but I got through it kind of thing. But what about you, man?
So for me, like I was kind of hooked when I first started My Hero. So I really enjoyed all the different abilities. And I like a lot of the characters. Like Deku is a little whiny, right, at the start, but like he really grows and you kind of see and feel the struggle that he's going through and everything that's happening, right? And then you get to like Avenger Deku, and like to me, that's like peak Deku. Yes, he's alone. Yes, like you can tell like there's a darkness in the world, and like the animation kind of takes a different route. Like usually My Hero is very bright, very colorful, things like that. But during the Avenger arc, like it's kind of dark. The city is dark, and like you can tell he's just kind of beaten, but he's out there just doing what he can for the people, you know? And so I think the character development is really good. And then I haven't even said anything specific. There has been no spoilers yet.
So he said spoiler. Yeah. I mean, no, there hasn't been any spoilers yet because one, Deku's still whiny. Like, here's a spoiler. He's still crying in almost every episode. Just so that's out there. That is a spoiler alert. We got Adam Marsh was like spoiler. I haven't heard a spoiler yet.
No. Also, Marshman, I know you're a Netflix anime watcher, so I know you're a little behind this. So we're going to be talking about My Hero and Demon Slayer. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you might want to dip because we might hit on them. But for My Hero, you know what? I would suggest if you don't want spoilers,
here you go.
Yeah, we're
just a minute. Spoiler alert! Just the whole thing. They're going to slip out. It's going to be impossible not to.
Yeah, we are definitely going to touch on spoilers, Marchman. So
only season 4 of My Hero. You're so far behind.
Well, that's all that's on Netflix, dude. Netflix is just so far behind. Although Netflix just put Haikyuu on there as well. So you can watch Haikyuu on Netflix, and I recommend it. It is amazing. It's about volleyball. So good. Anyways, so My Hero, like, there is a little bit of a lull in the middle. I think season 5 has that lull, but season 6 is money. It is so good. So it had me hyped coming into season 7. I've been waiting for like a year to get here, and now here we are. And now I feel like we got to be a little careful knowing Marchman's listening, but like
what Marshall says just finished season 2 of Dr. Stone. I haven't seen that one, so he's ahead of me on that.
I'm watching Samurai Champloo right now. That is my go-to anime currently.
I will say My Hero does the villains very well. In my opinion, like just the backstories that they give the main villains, and just the like. Spoiler alert: the one villain that they kill, like I honestly felt bad that he died. Like I was like, dude, that hurt my heart that they just killed this villain. Like,
so I think that is a thing that anime across the board does really well versus like live actions and things like that. Because a lot of times with villains and live actions, like they are painted to be a villain. You want them to lose, right? But in anime, I don't know if it's like Japanese culture or what, but like they give them a purpose and a personality and who they are. They're not just evil people. They just see the world differently. They want something. Now, some of them are evil, right? Like they're just bad. If you look at, like, say, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, those people, like greed and like they're just, the homunculus are bad, evil things, right? Which greed comes around. Greed's like my favorite character. Anyways, I'm going on a rabbit hole. But like anime in general, like brings personality and character to villains. And My Hero, like Demon Slayer, does that really, really well. Like, I mean, Dobby.
Dude, Dobby's one of my favorite. Like, especially like when they come out with the. Again, it's hard not to throw out any spoilers, but it's like when he comes out and makes that announcement, he's like, yeah, and just your mouth drops. You're like, oh my god,
Dude, freaking
Stephanie's like the Fire Prince in the live action Avatar.
Zuko. Yeah, so I will say live action Avatar, I don't think the acting is the best, but it is cool to see. And I do agree. I think they're trying to do that with Zuko. You see the character development there. You see he is kind of, which this is spoiler alert here also, right? He is like Fire Nation, Fire Nation, Fire Nation. And then at the end, like he's kind of like questioning and self-doubt and who am I? And that makes you relate because we all go through that shit,
Oh, Addis said, "Talk freely, my friends. Don't worry about it." He said, "Just get." He's fine with his fault. He'll probably forget by the time he watches it, and it's on Netflix anyway.
True. Netflix releases like one season a year. So like Marchman is like 3 years removed from watching this season on Netflix.
And I will say, like with My Hero, they came out of the gate hot. Like previous seasons, like all 6 previous seasons, one hero died. One hero that like one main person that you learned about. 2 episodes in, we already got a death. And I was just like, just one didn't expect it. I was like, they're not going to kill it. Whoa. Like,
bro, and they did it in such a cool way. So season 6 to season 7, my biggest concern was the power creep, right? Shigaraki was shown like, how do you beat that? How you just can't do anything with it, right? So they had to find a way without just power scaling the fuck out of everyone else, right?
Yeah.
They
or just
had,
Deku.
Yeah, they had to find. Well, even Deku couldn't do it, right? So they were going to have to power scale Deku. So I was like, how do they bring him back? How do they make this at all possible? It still needs to be a fight. It still needs to be a struggle, right? We need resilience. We need all these things in these characters. So like, how do they bring Shigaraki back to Earth? And they did it in such a cool fucking way with a character who I think fits the purpose so well, being America, Stars and Stripes, like kind of what I think of with America. Just the world views us as like fucking rebels, like we don't give a shit, like fuck the world, we do what we want no matter what, right? And Stars and Stripes kind of is the personification of that in anime form. Like she was told not to go. She went any fucking way, right?
Yep.
And then she apologized. She was like, yeah, sorry. Like I felt we needed to do this. And which fits, And then, dude, going down just fucking swinging. If I'm going to die, you're coming with me.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like with the power creep, right? Like last season, like Shigaraki just showed off the immense power that he already had, and he wasn't even at full power yet. Like he was still developing. Like the whole point of like the pause is he's escaping to go recuperate and finish his transformation. Like he's still not fully combined with All For One yet. Like he's still like not even at peak power, and he already can't be touched. So there's like you were saying, like how in the heck does any hero, how do they either make Deku even stronger or bring him down to Earth, that kind of thing? And just the way they did that was, like you said, phenomenal. Like Stars and Strike came in there, went out swinging, and the way they introduced a character, and then you felt the loss of that character within an episode, like just that's top-notch anime. Like how like we just got introduced to this character. I shouldn't be this attached to this person, but I am. And like just the way, I guess, this is a spoiler alert, the way like he absorbs her power and then it just wreaks havoc on him, just literally. And the personification that they gave of like him losing the abilities, right? Like putting Star and Stripe inside like her body, like inside of him, and just ripping out the different quirks
to rebel,
and destroying them, like rebelling. And then the conversation about that he's having with her as she's doing this, and she's like, and when she's like all big and she's like, fuck, like I was like, oh god.
Well, so you knew she wasn't going to beat Shigaraki, right? Like you knew she was, but you're like, what is going to happen? And you tell yourself, if he gets her power, like it's already tipping that way. And My Hero was verging on like something that makes My Hero great is like everybody plays a role. But if they wouldn't have done what they did, they would have basically just made everyone else but Deku irrelevant. Now, Deku is still on a platform. He is still, the most talented, the strongest of the class and things like that. And that's without question. Like Todoroki is strong, freaking Bakugo is strong and all that. But like he is on a different level. So if they would have allowed Shigaraki to take that quirk and still survive, it would have basically eliminated the need for anyone else because none of them would have been able to make a difference. So it would have then just become a one-on-one thing versus what has made My Hero great to this point, which is that everyone has played a role. So I love the fact that instead of just scaling Deku, that they went the opposite route, decided to bring Shigaraki back to Earth and kind of, take away a lot of his powers and quirks. And the way they did it was beautiful. Stars and Stripes. So her ability is like command. She can set rules for life, like take air out of this specific space, make it a vacuum, right?
Anything she touches and names.
Yeah, like she can set rules. That is her quirk. It's really cool, really no bounds. And then she knows she's about to die and she sets the rule. Spoiler alert for all this shit. I know it's a second late, but we've said it like 30 times. Spoiler alert. So she sets the rule that like her quirk will rebel once it's taken. It will destroy all other quirks it can get its hands on. So when Shigaraki takes it, it literally manifests inside Shigaraki. And he is there just watching Stars and Stripes pull out, destroy, just murder, just a fucking menace in his body. And he sees it and feels himself losing the quirks. Dude, so good.
Yeah,
so
and
good.
Just like it shows like the outside of his body, like every time she's ripping a quirk out, like he's getting damage on the outside of his body, and then it shows like internally, like this, Stars and Stripes character is literally taking a quirk and ripping it apart, like literally just savagely just tearing him apart piece by piece. He goes into a frantic and like just literally tries to escape. And what's the coolest thing is like he's like, I'll just give this quirk to someone else. And she's like, and then right when he's trying to do that, she's like, you fool, like it's going to oppose all other quirks. You can't just trade it like that. So, and then just, it's just how they did it was very, very awesome. But tying back to how you were saying, like how Deku is growing his power scale, like at the end of season 6, they go and try to, the whole other rest of the class go and try to catch Deku. And to show, like, I guess how fast that he's become, how powerful he's become, like he was falling asleep. They literally caught him after he fell asleep. But to be able to catch him, the guy that literally has armor made for speed is Tenya, right? He has to go so fast that his armor rips off and disintegrates to catch Deku. That is how much more powerful Deku is than the rest of the class, and he still can't beat Shigaraki. Yep. That is how much of a power scale difference there was. So this was absolutely needed, and just again, just the way they did it was just chef's kiss. Like I couldn't think of a way they were going to do it, but this, I mean, the embodiment of America just coming in and be like, yeah, you're not all that.
Yeah. And I do think as Americans, we probably relate, more to it than like maybe like say Japanese people or something. Maybe they see it and they're like, oh, this is obnoxious and like ridiculous. I don't know. Right. But for me being an American, I saw that. I was like, damn, it's fitting. Right.
The Boston Tea Party that.
Yeah. And I love the fact that it's just a big badass lady, like just took no shit. Like, and I think that's great. I mean, honestly, like getting further into it, I think it's great that they picked a female to literally turn the tide of the battle. Because, like, if you look at a lot of the prominent Todoroki, freaking Bakugo, Deku, All Might, Shigaraki, All for One, all of the prominent people in the show are males, right? So the fact that they like seen all this and was like, you know what, like this bitch she's a bad mother effer. And they put her in, and she turned the battle, right? Like, because season 6, you see that Shigaraki just can't be touched. Nothing you can do. And I thought it was great. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah. And then there's like the whole season so far has been 4 episodes so far. First 2, that's pretty much what we've been talking about, is the first 2 episodes. The second 2, a lot slower. It's more set up, more like, hey, they figured out a way to potentially get in and trick All for One, that kind of thing. But I feel like how they started out the season, like with the bang like that, with just edge of your seat action, power, bringing Shigaraki down to a more beatable level, like that kind of thing. Like I felt like that was great. Versus like Demon Slayer took the opposite, right? Like the first 3 episodes so far has been all set up. Like the end of this last episode, see episode 3, like they did have like in the training arc, so that was a little bit of action. He got to fight with Flashy Hashira, so that was really cool. But before that one fight, like it was literally all just like set up, like how getting people in place, like that kind of stuff, which is good, right? Like you have to have that setup, but it also didn't make me like think like, oh, I can't wait till next week. Versus like My Hero is like, dude, I got to see the next episode. Like,
yeah. I think it's different though. So I've enjoyed the Demon Slayer setup because I think what makes Demon Slayer so good isn't the fighting. I think it's the aesthetics, the animation, and I think the storytelling in Demon Slayer is better than the storytelling in My Hero. I think My Hero, a lot of it is the fighting and the quirks and the different things and how every fight is different because of the people that are involved with it, right? Whereas like Demon Slayer, it is what it is. So like the story has to be good. So I watch Demon Slayer for the animation and for the story, not necessarily for the fights, which the animated fights are fantastic. But where My Hero, like I think I definitely is lacking in plot, and I think the fights are a lot of the reason that I watch it. So there's two different shows, right? And I will say the last 2 episodes of My Hero, spoiler alert, Ariyama or whatever, that feels like a cop-out to me. I think they should have picked someone a lot more prominent than the weakest person of the whole class.
I mean, is he really the weakest? Like,
who's the weakest?
I don't. Maybe the guy who picks gumballs off his head.
Grape juice.
Grape juice.
Grape juice adds quality humor throughout the whole show. Is he sexist? Yes. Is he a pervert? 1,000,000% yes. But you just have to laugh at the nonsense.
I'm just saying, not his character, but I'm saying he's pretty weak. Like all he can do is throw little sticky balls at you. Like that's not very powerful.
Bro, you have seen him make a difference in the show multiple times.
Oh, we got Adam Marshall says, yeah, grape juice is weak.
When has Ariyama made a difference in the show? Honestly, I can't remember. I'm all ears. There's been several times where grape juice has been featured as like getting people with the sticky balls and like throwing people off and messing people up. Like you've seen him have a use. I can't remember one time where Ariyama like he skewed the battle in their favor. I'm all ears, Joe. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know if this is accurate.
This feels like bullshit because I know Netflix doesn't have season 5, which means he has not seen it.
Season 5, episode 14.
He might have Googled it though.
He may have Googled it. I feel like I remember him using his like little flashy beam one time, and it was like he made a big grandeur gesture of it. It may have been like in the whole where they were competing at their license, that tournament thing. It was probably that. But I mean, you're right. Like he wasn't like a huge main character, but the way they tied it in for his backstory, like how, spoiler alert, like he was quirkless and they bought the quirk from All for One, and then he's trapped. Like
that's another
sense how they did it. Like
no,
it makes sense.
No, that's another thing. If I'm gonna sell my fucking soul to the devil for a quirk, your ass is not gonna give me a flashy belly button. Okay, no, sir. No, I'm not gonna be like, bro, look, I'll be a traitor. I'll go do all this nonsense. I will be a worthless human being for a quirk. You want to give me a flashlight of a belly button? No. I'm not doing that. So like, I think it's a cop out. I think they literally looked at it and said, who can we pin this on to drive the story without hurting anyone? But imagine if they used like the speed guy who's been like Justice. I can't think of his name.
They couldn't do that. Tenya? They couldn't
you say that, but imagine if Deku would have caught him doing that. How great! Now his whole family has a quirk, so it doesn't like super fit, right? But they could have developed someone over the course of the show, knowing this was coming, to hit you with that. They literally took one of the lowest, like hanging fruit people of the whole show and said, he has made no difference, but now you know he has made such a massive difference. But wow, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, maybe there's more to come, right? Like his I hate myself for about to say this. Maybe his time to shine is coming.
I see what you did there because of his flashlight belly button.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. Like, if I'm going to sell my soul for a quirk, you're going to give me a quirk that's worth it, not like I can shoot a light out of my belly button and then it doesn't even like he can't even use it right. Like, it doesn't fit with his body, so he has to wear a special belt to control his stomach or something. Like, yeah, he got the crappiest quirk ever, and then now it's like a life of servitude. But
so going off all this, Joe, take out All for One and One for All. What quirk would you want?
Oh, take out, dude. That's tough because there's so many. There's so many ridiculous ones as well. Like Best Genist is just hilarious. But I mean, Shoto Todoroki, like being able to control fire and ice, like that's super cool. Definitely wouldn't want to have little sticky balls. Like I wouldn't want to be stuck invisible. Like the. But yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, like the fire and ice kind of like Shoto has, like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think for me, it's two people. It's Twice, because I think that is so cool. Twice being able to replicate yourself over and over. Think about how much you can get done.
But the effect it had on his mind, like that's why I didn't pick that one. Like it drove him crazy because he didn't know who was who anymore. Like that's a real like thing.
So fun fact, I have a D&D character. It's a changeling, and part of his backstory is he doesn't remember what his normal self is. He doesn't remember so he can't even shape back into who he originally is because he's changed so much that he doesn't remember what he looks like or what the real version of him is. So kind of cool. I would still choose Twice because I think it's awesome. I would fight that mental problem. I don't care. I fight mental shit every day. It is what it is. Let's just add to it. Why not? Or I would choose Toga. I think it is so cool that, you know, just a smidge of blood and she can like turn into you. I think that's cool.
See, I think you're a villain like that. That's what you sound like, Nate. Like you just want to drink people's blood and morph into them, or duplicate yourself so you can like rob banks while you're snoozing. I
didn't say anything about robbing banks. I could be saving the world.
It was implied. No, it was implied. You said
maybe I take the place of every person in the military, so they get to go home and be with their people, and then it's just me.
He feels like what they feel, right? Like if one dies, like it hurts.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'd take the death of 1,000 people for him.
Adam says exactly. All bad guys. Yeah, Nate. All bad guys, right? Like,
Twice wasn't a bad. Actually, Twice was like manipulated and all of that, and he really loved Toga, and so like he was doing it because he felt he needed to. He wasn't necessarily malicious.
I mean, he's still a bad guy. He was on the bad guy team, Nate.
Whatever.
Although I do like Momo. What is it? I can't remember her last name. Yozaru or something like that. The one that could make things, right? Like she could like
pulls it out.
Yeah, pulls it out of her body. Like it's like, here's a sword. It's like that would be pretty cool and handy. Like you would never have to go buy something or go back home because you forgot something. Hold on, let me just take it out of my ribs here.
Yeah, here's a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, here's a PS5.
Yes.
So that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that feels like cheating though. Like I don't know if you could choose that one.
I mean, if you could multiply yourself, you could multiply items. I mean,
no, that's not how Twice works.
I mean, he does have to know exactly like. Because what was it? He was trying to multiply the little pill, right? What the one that took your powers, but he didn't understand like what it was, so he couldn't. So there, I mean, there was like a whole backstory of how it worked and everything, which is pretty cool. Like that they explained his power to that detail. But
the Hero Hunter too, I thought he was pretty cool. What was his name? Oh my gosh.
I don't remember his name. He didn't really have a power though. He was just like a reptile dude.
Stain.
Yeah, Stain. His backstory is really cool.
Stain is probably one of the best villains or
anti-heroes, I guess.
Yeah, maybe anti-hero.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say I don't think we're getting to Demon Slayer today. I think Demon Slayer will end up being next week, and we will talk on all of Demon Slayer for next week. But so, just for everybody listening, if you're hoping we would get to Demon Slayer, we touched on it, but we are not going to make it to it because our 30 minutes is up, and we're going to try to keep it short. We'll probably go another 10 minutes or so. So if you were expecting Demon Slayer, you can go ahead and dip because it's not coming. So what do you hope to see from this season that's left? And this is supposed to be the final season, I believe. Yeah. So what is there anything you're hoping for? Anything that you hope comes out? Anything like that?
I'm really wanting to see a choreographed final battle between the whole class, right? Like, I don't want it to be just Deku out there soloing it. Like, I want to see how they integrate everyone's powers into a strategy to take down the bad guy. Like that's the main thing that I want to see is just how they use each person's quirks to get the upper hand. I do like, I want to feel some loss, right? So everybody can't get through unscathed. It's like, we got to lose somebody, or like, is this guy really all that powerful? Like, how are you going to have an almighty being and he can kill one person, right? So I think that would be like just an epic final battle where everyone has to use like their ability and like to the max amount to the max of ability. What about you?
So I will say I think loss is going to be important. It is something My Hero has not done well, right? Like up until this point, there's been 2 deaths. Both of them, this season 1 was really cool. But ultimately, she was not like a main character. She came out of nowhere. They spent a lot of time focusing on who she is. You really felt the death, but it was not like a Todoroki died, right? Or anything like that. You had like Hawk get close and stuff like that, but like I want loss, and I want to feel. And this is also one of my biggest complaints about like Naruto and stuff like that. Like people just don't die and go away, and it's really frustrating. And I think it takes a lot of the heartbreak and sadness away, because they just don't finish them, which makes no sense. There should have been so many people who have come and gone from his class, right? Where you're just like, there's no way they survive this. And then like 3 episodes later, they're there, and you're like,
how did they survive?
So like I want loss. I want important people that I care for to go. And I want it to go in a meaningful way. Like, I don't want Todoroki to trip and die and, like, fall on a spike and just be gone, right? I want them to die for a reason and sacrifice and show that they make a powerful impact by their death. Maybe their death is what kind of vaults Deku into a position to, like, either lose control and just kill Shigaraki or something. And then also my big hope, I hope Dabi finds his human side again, right? Now I know he's been wronged and like the life he's lived has been fucked and all that stuff, but like I think it would be really, really cool if he found like some kindness again and like skewed the battle in the hero's favor somehow, some way. Right,
bro out.
Yeah, versus just being full evil. Because right now, his only motive is like "F you, Dad," right? Which I won't say who his dad is or anything like that. You can watch. I won't spoiler that. But like, I hope he finds some like a human side, a kindness, and he helps skew the battle. I don't know if that will happen. He might just end up being a villain throughout the whole thing. Maybe he becomes like one of the biggest villains. I don't know.
I mean, like, they've already hinted at it, like in the episodes. Like Alfred was talking to him. It didn't like go into details of like exactly what he had to do, but he was like, "Hey, you're a big part of this next plan." So I'm definitely excited to see how he evolves and what part he has to do in the upcoming battle for sure.
Yeah.
And he's just one of my favorites. The blue flames burning so hot that it's melts his skin off, but he does it anyway. Like, I don't know, it's just and of course, like, spoiler alert, like his backstory is super cool as well. Like, he's one of my favorite villains for sure.
I think his backstory is kind of what separates him from a lot of the other villains, because you don't get that from. And you know what's crazy? So without spoiling it, you look at a lot of other animes, and like that backstory wouldn't break them; it would make them stronger, right? Look at like Hunter x Hunter with Gon. You know, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this," and he is the protagonist throughout the whole thing. Even though he was left, he was cared for by his family, but like his dad left him and stuff like that, you know? And so I think it's cool that they took what is a fairly common thing in anime and said, you know what, we're going to make it perverse and we're going to make him a villain because of this, which I think probably happens more times than not. And I think it's really cool. And I mean, well done. I like Dabi. I think he's probably one of my favorite villains from My Hero. He's up there with like Stain and stuff like that for me. Honestly, like Shigaraki is not up there. Like I haven't really cared for him to this point. I know he's powerful and he's like the main villain, but like I've cared for Twice, Toga, freaking Dot, like so many of the other villains, so much more. So I really hope they like, and they said, like you said, they've already stated he's going to be a big part, but I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah. That is for sure. But I mean, we're at 306, so we're a little bit over.
Yeah.
I mean, any last minute things you want to share before we drop off for the week?
Again, excited for what Joe and I are going to try with our podcast, with our new format. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We post all of our stuff on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. But with our new format, it's going to be less guests, more like a month-long segment each time. So next week, we'll be talking about anime again. It'll be a focus on Demon Slayer. We'll probably recap some of My Hero, make it very quick, jump into Demon Slayer. And then the next week will be the same thing. And then the week after that, we'll probably have a guest to touch on these things as well and what they've thought and where they're going. And then the next month, I don't know how we're going to do the monthly topics. Maybe we throw some stuff in a hat. Maybe we put up a poll. What do y'all want to talk about? What would y'all like us to talk about? And things like that. I will say doing month-long things is going to narrow down some of the stuff we can talk about, because if you're like, talk about, I don't know, harmonicas, which we've done an episode on. I could not talk about harmonicas for more than one episode. I don't even know if I could make it through a whole episode without a guest. So it will definitely narrow down our topics. We will probably try to keep them a little more on theme for nerdy. But also, I mean, fuck it. Joe's a weird dude. I'm a weird dude. Maybe we talk about some weird, like crazy things. I don't know, like travel for a month or something. Who knows? So, but that's it. That's all I got to share. Nothing really about anime, but just the podcast in general. Appreciate y'all watching, hanging out with us, listening. We appreciate all y'all. And that's really it for me.
All right. See y'all later.